Hi, this is Kristen from SEL Chicago. I hope you are having a wonderful day. Thank you for taking a look at this video about the brain in the palm of the hand. One of the foundational tools in positive discipline is this idea of our work and our responsibility as the adult in the room of trying to create and maintain our own regulation. And it helps for us to realize what happens to the brain when we're on stress. It also helps us as adults to teach this to kids so that we can work on helping them learn self-regulation tools. It would be so great if children were born with them and they are developed over time like skills, and they can be developed in anyone. One of the tools is the brain of the palm of the hand. And I also throw in some of the information that Becky Bailey shares with us in Conscious Discipline. Brain in the palm of the hand is in many of our positive discipline books and is referenced, and it originally comes from the work of Dan Siegel. I believe it was first introduced in his book called Parenting from the Inside Out with Mary Hartzell. It's a pretty simple tool. So here's your brain. And if you tuck your thumb in your forefinger, you can have a glove if you want to teach it to the little ones, or you can just use your hand. But the brain in the palm is, if this is your spinal cord with all the information up to your brain, this big purple part of your brain is the cerebral cortex. And the fancy names really aren't important, but it's the thinking part. It does the learning. It does the long-term ability to use our creative information. Our prefrontal cortex, represented by the fingernails here, right behind our eyes, is this seat of creative wisdom and all the things that you could possibly say that could forward action in a conversation. It's your best self. Sometimes we're not feeling like our best selves. And in the words of Dan Siegel, we flip our lid, right? And when we flip, that doesn't really happen in the brain, but what happens neurologically is the information comes up and it is processed in either one of two parts of the brain, in the brainstem or in the limbic system. This red part, the brainstem, essential question, am I safe? It's our safety center. And if we're not feeling safe, we have four things we can do. We can fight, we can flee, we can freeze, or we faint. So four tools at our disposal. Kids too. Then if it comes up here, it passes through the essential question, am I safe? Yeah, that's there. But then it hits the limbic system, a collection of brain parts where the essential question is, am I loved? Am I cared about? And if the answer is no, then we have some tools, and they're not always graceful. Yelling, blaming, shaming, name calling. If you've ever said or heard someone say to you, I hate you, that's often the limbic system at work. So what do we do with this? We can begin to recognize it. What are the physiological signs that we are aroused, right? We are in a stress response. And they're the clenching of teeth, or a little bit of physical perspiration, or my heart's racing, or my eyes are opening. So when I notice this about myself, when I'm noticing this about others, I can pause. I actually can learn some of the skills going from this state to this state. If I notice it and I can build the skills of how to become re-regulated, it's really helpful. I can teach this. I can talk about it. I can name some of the emotions that bring me to this phase. All of these tools that we can teach children also helps them regulate and become re-regulated. The other thing too is to notice that we have these things called mirror neurons. Have you ever laughed when someone else laughed? Or smiled when someone else smiles? Probably. Have you ever been having a perfectly nice day and then you meet someone who's dysregulated and you become dysregulated as well? If we can pause, if we can cool off before we have an opportunity to reconnect and problem solve, this can be really, really helpful for relationships. One last thing. What if being angry wasn't bad? I think a lot of our children learn that anger is bad. And if we change that language just a little bit to when we are angry, sometimes we do things that we regret or that might be harmful to others, then we can break some of that idea that because I'm angry, I'm bad, to because I'm angry, sometimes I do things and then I need to repair them when I'm becoming dysregulated. I really hope that was helpful. And thank you very much for attending our SEL Chicago workshops. Follow us on Facebook at selchicago.com and let us know what you think.